Excellent. All right. So welcome to our Trek brunch, our first live one that we've done. Hey Todd,
Yay.
thanks for joining. Um,
Hi, Todd.
so we are going to talk about Star Trek Picard. And hello, happy Sunday. This is our chill time. I've got my Starfleet robe on and my coffee. and,
Happy
um,
Easter Sunday to anybody who's excited
yes,
about that.
absolutely. And I hope for people who are celebrating Easter in a way that they weren't necessarily planning on a couple of months ago. I hope we can keep you company. So,
Yeah.
before we kick off, because some people may not have met you before, if you'd like to give a little bit of your background and where we got started doing this, and then we can jump into Picard, that would be
Sure.
sweet.
Hi everyone. I'm Samantha. And we started actually an earlier version of Star Trek Sunday a couple of years ago now. Basically because I never seen Star Trek before, had never seen Star Trek before at that juncture. Reason being, I was freaked out as a kid by one episode. One very specific episode.
And you had like no memory of what it was other than it just these visions, and it just scared you, and you knew it was Geordie LaForge was involved.
Yes, yeah. Two very, very clear moments from the episode stood out to me and would never go back ever again. And then watched some of the, now I learned last time, Kelvin timeline movies. So college years watched those movies and was like, oh my God, Star Trek's actually really kind of cool. I should probably start watching this. And then flash forward even further. I was literally just Facebook statusing, guys, I need a new show. Like, what should I watch? And Erin chimed in on the thread and was like, hey, you should watch Voyager. Hint, hint. I've been telling you about it for years.
Subtle.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, you're right. And literally just said, hey, Erin, I think we should do like a YouTube series about my friend finally watches Star Trek. And hence Star Trek Sunday was born.
Yep, and we watched all of Voyager,
Good.
and then we started with Next Gen, and then we got to your scary episode, and then life intervened.
Basically.
And it died a little bit. And so now we have an opportunity to bring it back. So we're going to kick it off with just talking about Picard, and then what I think we'll probably do is go back to where we left off, because you started watching, well, we could get into that too, but you went back and watched kind of the must-watch episodes before Picard?
Yeah, so we got all the way through season 4 of Next Gen for Star Trek Sunday before. And then I started just picking it up again and watching a few episodes of season 5, but then you chimed in for this and you're like, hey, actually stop watching. And what we'll do is I'll just show you what the internet says are the most essential episodes to watch for starting Picard if no one's ever seen Star Trek before, or they're just coming in at a very basic level. So I watched what the internet suggested, which was Measure of a Man, I, Borg, the two-parter Borg episode, which I can't remember the name of.
Yeah, the Locutus of Borg stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And
then
the movies.
Yeah. Was it First Contact?
It was First Contact and Nemesis.
Yeah.
Sorry, which I had never seen before.
And First Contact is brilliant. We celebrated First Contact Day last weekend.
That's actually when our Star Trek Sunday was last weekend. Yes.
Yeah. But Nemesis is a little less watchable.
I did not like it.
But that's okay. We got through it, and then you pounded through Picard in like a week. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Without having seen really beyond season 5 other than those recommended episodes. So we talked a little bit about our first impressions, and you can go back and watch our video on that. We posted it here on Twitch and on my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. But now we can kind of dig in to the series itself, if you're up for that.
For sure.
And kind of go through the storyline. Yeah, Nemesis agreed. It's a little... it's okay, but it's not as good as other ones. So it really kicks off, like, Picard has this almost a 3-parter intro, right? Like, you're kind of brought in, you're filled in with this idea that Picard resigned after the Romulan destruction, which is how we got into that conversation about the Kelvin timeline last time.
Yes.
So the star Romulus goes supernova, and we'll save the science discussion for my other channels, or for my other sort of shows. But the star goes supernova, and Picard didn't have the support of Starfleet to rescue all the Romulans, and has resigned in protest. So that's kind of where these kick off. So they have this like 3-parter where they introduce the character of Daj in the first episode, who was pretty cool.
She was cool. I liked her.
I gotta say, I did really like that first episode. They had this term that there was the fractal neuronic cloning that was able to basically made her like a child of Data. So that's kind of what kicked off Picard having a connection with her, because he was having these visions.
Yeah.
And then, go for it.
Yeah, I remember when the first episode started. Was it the first episode the interview was in? He was on, or was that the second episode?
I think that might have been the second one.
Oh, okay. Well, as Picard was starting, like, I remember being a little worried that I was like, did Erin give me the right episodes to watch? Like, I don't know if I felt dropped into something I really wasn't super familiar with. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, because I don't know how Next Gen ends. So I don't, I was like, does he resign at the end of that? Or what, like, am I missing something? But quickly, like, by the 4th or 5th episode of Picard, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, now, I see.
And that's what's kind of cool, is I do think it was pretty accessible to people who have sort of vague recollections. And those, I mean, the episodes that you watched, those were the ones that, like, the StarTrek.com was recommending.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't that much. But,
yeah.
But yeah, there is that sort of, wait a minute, do I need to know? Which, did you watch the short, The Children of Mars?
No.
Because that kind of had some hints to it as well. Yeah, we'll have to go back, because I've been picking up, because I've been watching other kind of random episodes for my episode club. Like, we just watched the TNG episode Cause and Effect, which kind of lent itself to this as well. So there are like little hints that I think enhance your experience, but
yeah, I mean, there's for sure Easter eggs in Picard that mainstream Star Trek fans would be like, oh my God, they called out whatever, or that's like a tiny reference to something that I would have no idea about. But on the surface, just to appreciate the story and not have too many spoilers, which was the other thing I was worried about, which we touched on last time, is like Picard's really not that spoilery at all.
No.
I didn't feel like.
Yeah, not really. And the other thing, too, that we kind of talked about was that Voyager, it's almost like a little bit more of an homage to Voyager than necessarily Next Gen. Yeah, the Children of Mars, like, I felt, so this was a short that came out, like, right before Picard.
Oh, okay.
And it was on that Trek Shorts. And it basically, like, it showed that there was an attack on Mars, kind of, that you then saw later, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was from the perspective of, like, 2 kids whose parents were working on Mars. So there wasn't really, like, a ton of information.
Right, okay.
There has been an attack, and Picard is
more
emotionally...
More context, yeah.
Yeah. So we started to get this information that there's, like, these Romulans who have a Borg cube, which some people were, like, trying to trace back the dates and stuff and try to figure out when. So I think what I saw is someone traced back, and this is why I love people, and it might have been someone, was it you, Todd? It might have been Todd. Someone mentioned where it was like they had the sign that said it's been so many days since an assimilation, and that ended up being like 2 or 3 years before the Children of Mars episode happened. So we were trying to figure out, like, where in the Star Trek timeline the Romulans acquired this Borg cube and why they acquired it.
Yeah.
because it wasn't super obvious. Like, did they just take it because it had Romulans on it? I don't really remember.
Yeah, it was very vague why they were there, what they were doing there. I love that sign though. I was like, I get it.
Yeah. And I mean, the funny thing is like, it's so hard to one up the villains. Like, when you talk about Star Trek villains, the Borg are brilliant villains. You know, like, they're legitimately inherently creepy.
So
villains.
Creepy.
And so it's hard to make an antagonist that stands up to that, you know, any opportunity that they have for that. But they introduced this idea that the Romulans have this Borg cube that they've been like, I don't think they really got to it in the first couple episodes, but then we learned that like they were basically like bringing back, you know, people who had been assimilated, and there were a lot of Romulans in there. Yeah, you guys are more than welcome to chime in.
Please chime in.
Kind of finish thoughts and then get to these. But yeah, it's oh, so the Nemesis comics. Ooh, see, the comics and book timelines, those are always like that beta canon where it's like they're sort of canon, but like what is considered canon and what's not. So yeah, feel free to chime in if you have questions or thoughts or anything on this. But the Romulan cube, like I said, they basically were recovering all of these Romulans from being who had been Borgified, because we knew that we could from 7 of 9 and from Hugh and all of those. Yeah. Sorry,
tangent. I know you're going through kind of chronologically, but
that's okay.
One thing. So they have these like Borg Romulans that they're trying to rehabilitate, and they had all kind of gone crazy. But they seemed like they were connected to that circle of witch Romulans.
Right. There was the one, because there was the one woman that they kind of focused on, and I didn't, of the like dozen characters that I wrote down, I didn't write down her name, but she was present when they got that vision. And so when they were assimilated, then that vision was shared amongst.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
At least that cube. I'm not sure how much that spread, but yeah, because then when they flashed to them sort of in that weird little prayer circle thing, that she saw the vision. Yeah, the Council of Eight things.
That's
and so she was present for that. And it was the Zhat Vash who was the sort of group of Romulans that have this hatred for synthetics.
Yeah.
One character we didn't really talk about last week was Elnor. So Elnor is introduced in episode 4 as the kid. He's the elf Romulan. The Romulan Legolas.
Definitely, yeah. That's exactly what that's exactly what I thought when I saw him. He was awesome, though.
He was an interesting character because his personality didn't really fit the promotion they were doing for him. You know, like when they previewed the episode and stuff, he looked like this bad, tough, hey, Zach, this bad, tough warrior, like Legolas type thing. But then he was like adorable and awkward.
He was a little bit of a, adorable, awkward, teenager-y.
Yeah, his naivete kind of, I felt, was a little overdone by the end, where I was like, he does have some, he's got to be a little smarter than how he's coming across. But
yeah, exactly. And it was funny, though. Picard was like, I told you to stay here, never follow me, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of one of those episodes, he was like, thank you for following me.
Yeah. Exactly. But we did also get, so that episode 4, Absolute Candor, that's the one that we got the background with Elnor. He was introduced. But I didn't feel like the story progressed a ton there. It was just the introduction of this one character. And then 7 of 9, yeah, exactly. And then 7 of 9 was introduced at the end of that. She was like that, her ship exploded and beamed aboard.
Yeah.
Other characters that we kind of had in this. So Daj dies, and then Soji, her twin, is on the Romulan cube.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that too, that like it was so unclear how secretive this Romulan cube was. Because people seemed to just show up for work like this was a job. And
yeah, well, and they were living on the cube, which, I mean, creepy. But yeah, it was sort of this like open research like mission. It was kind of clear that there was the front, and then there was all this crap going on behind. Like, who knows what else they were doing.
I will say though,
I kept
yeah, go for it.
Go ahead. I was just like, I couldn't tell if they're like a certain segment who are trying to bring the Borg back to like fight for them for some reason or something. Like they were like keeping them in refrigerators, like to wake them up at some point. Like,
right, exactly.
That seemed like that might be going on. I don't.
And Zach just pointed out, he said I can read the sarcasm through, but not at all reminiscent of the ill-fated Cerberus team living and working on the Reaper in Mass Effect 2. Because I said, and Samantha you haven't played Mass Effect, but it's Mass Effect.
Yeah, yes. This was pointed out to me last weekend.
Which, yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to Mass Effect and Star Trek coming together, because the two of them. Yeah, that's why it was kind of weird, because it had a military vibe. And then it was like, and Romulans, and we know Romulans are like notably secretive. And so...
and yet they have like a lot of other non-Romulans working with Romulans.
Right. Yeah, and I wonder if the comment about how injured the Romulan Borg were, that's what I wonder if it's because they were exposed to that vision.
That's what it seemed like to me, is there was like some other thing going on there. They were like in a mental asylum essentially on the cube. Like that's what it looked like. Yeah,
it was interesting. But I was happy that 7 of 9 was back. I mean, we talked a little bit. I will get emotional about this. But I feel personally betrayed that for some reason the Voyager crew abandoned 7. Like,
yeah, apparently that's what happened. And I too am disappointed in that. Yeah. She's my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love in her relationship with Janeway and everything. Like there's no way Janeway would have abandoned her like that to drive her to. I mean, there could be external things, but to just be like, oh, I didn't have a family once I was back here. I'm like, didn't you like? I mean, we easily forget Chakotay, but like it ended with her and Chakotay being together, and it could have at least been like, well, and then when Chakotay and I parted ways, then I lost contact with my Voyager family. That would be some explanation, but they didn't even give that. Yeah, I mean, that's possible.
That's a good thought.
Yeah, with Federation not necessarily stepping up, that she steps up for it. And she could feel abandoned by that. I just wish that they'd kind of gone into that a little bit more. The episode I do want to talk about is the Stardust City Rag, which was episode 5, and that was the one where they all go in disguise to 7 of 9 to go get Bruce Maddox.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It was a goofy episode, but it was probably one of the most enjoyable ones for me that like I would actually go back and watch over and over again. Yeah, that's fair. Well, and yeah, because in that episode too, they talked about like that there are people who will tear out Borg technology in very brutal ways. And yeah, I mean, this one did feel like a holodeck episode, but yeah, because it was Bajel, I guess was her name, is the woman,
the scientist, mad evil scientist.
Yeah. That she because it flashed back to Icheb being killed by her, which was really sad because Icheb. And there's a lot of sort of backstory too that I think with the actor and what they wanted to do with it that we don't have to get into. That has never explicitly been said, but it was played by a different person, and then they brought him back and then killed him. So Icheb is not in the picture anymore.
No more.
Yeah, no more. But it did feel like a holodeck episode, and they all got dressed up and.
Yeah, they did. I couldn't quite. So this was when they got to Free Cloud, and yeah, that was funny. Like I cut to them all dressed up, and I was like, they're going to a party.
Yeah,
why are they dressed strangely?
Great quirky little personality things in there, and yeah, it was really enjoyable. But it was bookended really weird though, because it was like we got Bruce Maddox, who was the character in Measure of a Man.
Yes.
He was the one that wanted to take data. Yeah. So she has Bruce Maddox, and then they go through this whole elaborate scheme, get him back. 7 of 9 is back. She jumps back and kills who it was pretty much not explicitly said, but was her girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then Jurati, at the end of that episode, killed Bruce Maddox. And
yeah, I mean, that was very unexpected.
Yeah. It was extreme. It was extreme.
It was sort of one of those like, oh, well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah. And there wasn't really a chance for us to like get to know this character, even though we've built up like half of the season.
Exactly.
You know. Yeah, we're halfway through the season at this point, and we've spent the whole time talking about Bruce Maddox and getting him back, and
then he's dead.
Which I was laughing too, because like the emergency hologram is the emergency medical hologram in on this ship, that Rios's hologram is poorly programmed. He's like, someone's in distress. She's like, go away. Okay.
It's not the doctor.
It's not a Starfleet EMH. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's got some flaws in his coding.
Right. And yeah, and like, you know, we've said this too, but for me it seems it's like they didn't really have. Oh, so with the girlfriend thing, it was very passively alluded to. It was just that they had clearly had a relationship of some kind that was fairly intimate, but they didn't explicitly say that they were a couple, but there was a lot of sort of hinting toward it. And then with Seven and Rafi at the end of the season, that it kind of, so it was, I read it that she was the girlfriend, but
there was I think a lot of subtext and chemistry. Yeah.
That's the word.
Made it clear, yeah.
But it has to be a lot for you to kill someone. Like Allison Jurati did not seem like a stone cold killer for her to have this vision and then be like, I must kill this guy.
I know. It was so bizarre. And we kind of touched on it last time, but it just came out of nowhere, and it made me feel like she has to be brainwashed or the vision was planted in such a way that if she didn't, they would like do a kill switch or something.
Right.
Like that's what I got, because she either that or she was definitely some kind of like double agent at the start, which could have been a thing because she was so, you know, perky, the blonde with the curly hair on the thing and all the, you know, cardigan sweaters type thing. And then like, that was her cover.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was bizarre. ZT here said that Picard was only your second series and the first was half of Enterprise. So that's interesting. I'm curious if you felt like you were missing something or if it's made you want to go back and watch Next Gen. But feel free to join us in the future and watch Next Gen with the rest of us.
Yeah.
But what was interesting was when I was going back and I was just reading the episode descriptions, like to kind of remember the story to get ready for this and everything. The episode description for the episode after this, which was The Impossible Box, which for me was this was probably my least favorite episode of all of them.
Which one was this again?
So this is the one where Rafi has kind of fallen off the wagon. Soji is still sleeping with Narek. And And in the episode description, it said, Allison Jurati, while struggling with the guilt of killing Maddox, has sex with Rios. It's like, that just summed up, because there's nothing that arc, like the cause and effect.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, they the only thing that they kind of hinted towards was like they did kind of look similar, and I was like, I can kind of see them hooking up, but then to have that be the arc was just like, ooh, this is
like
not great. And then that's when Rafi too, she's drunk and she's high, and they need her to get them access to the ship,
right?
And they're like, call your buddy. And she's like, I don't want to, And they're like, just do it. And then she like does it, and they get access, and then she like stumbles off, and no one is like Picard owed her an apology. It was brutal. That was brutal.
Full stop.
Yeah. So for me, it was a very stressful, uncomfortable episode.
Definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if you had thoughts on the Romulan couple. The Romulan brother and sister. I forget what someone called them, like the Romulannisters.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. I like that.
I cannot take credit for it, but the Romulannisters. I
am obsessed with that, actually.
Yeah, kind of my new favorite thing.
That is amazing. Because it took me a second. And then when she called him brother, I was like, well, maybe that's like a Romulan term of affection, or like when people say this is my brother, but they're not actually related.
Yeah.
Like
they were an interesting pair. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was not a fan of Narek.
Is that the guy?
Yeah, that was the guy, and then Narissa was the.
So damn creepy. Yes.
Yeah. So damn creepy. I think she is dead. I mean, the fight at the end with Seven, right? Didn't Seven kick her into the void?
Yeah, I think she did.
Yeah.
And see, that was the moment I kind of wanted, like, Borg to wake up and, like, I don't know, do stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they did leave it open that she could still be alive.
They did, yeah.
I mean, we didn't see her die. But yeah, they are literally brother and sister.
Not cool.
I mean, it could be a trauma response, but they didn't really go into it that much, that obviously this vision is somehow traumatizing, but
yeah. While she was super creepy, there was a part of me that liked her, and like she was just taking all this, like taking control, and she was, trying to win. And while she was obviously evil, she was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And, the beginning when O is like threatening her, she's like, you better be successful at this or there will be consequences. So when she has that in her mind to go back to the cube and be like, there are consequences if we don't do this, that's all that she has in her head.
Yeah. No, I think that that is possible.
Yeah.
And I thought she was a great villain.
Mm-hmm.
Narek, yeah, I've seen people kind of split. Personally, for me, I don't know. He did not. He
was so boring. And also didn't do it for me. No, not at all.
I guess that was part of it too. Was like the fact that she was in a relationship with him. I was like, why? Why?
How?
You
why?
can do so much better. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that
was
like from my perspective.
I don't buy it.
But fair enough. And the character, love to hate him, yeah.
Yeah.
We were supposed to hate him. But there's the love hate, and then there's the hate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why? I don't want to see you on my screen. I'm sick of your face. So, yeah, generally trying to kill a girlfriend is pretty evil.
Yeah.
But yeah, because there are villains where, and you haven't seen Deep Space Nine, but I love Kai Wynn episodes because I hate her so much. But when she gets on the screen, I'm like, yes! Like, I get to watch her be evil and hate her. And so there's that love-hate, and then there's characters, for me, like Gul Dukat in Deep Space Nine, where I'm like, oh, Gul Dukat, like, ugh.
Like, why? Why do I have to suffer through this right now?
Yeah. So there are villains we love to hate, and then there are villains that we're just like, but
it's like, go away.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. And Garrick, yeah, I love Garrick. I'm excited for you to watch Deep Space Nine.
I'm excited for that one too, actually. I know nothing about it, but for some reason I'm excited about it.
Because I don't shut up about
it. Maybe.
But yeah, then we got to Nepenthe, which is the which for me plot-wise was basically like, we just want to go see Riker and Troy.
Yeah.
Which is,
yeah,
I can't argue with that.
No, yes. that was fun.
Yeah.
Very pleasant.
They're fabulous. And the thing that I love that they were able to do with Riker and Troy was they still have it. They still have the chemistry.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, they clearly are just so in love, so together, like still, you know, grown old together. And I just loved that.
They didn't, I had forgot this between watching it and going back, but they had a son who died. That was
alluded to.
Yeah, because he was unable to get synthetic surgery.
I didn't quite follow that, to be honest. And there was I may have been just totally making this up as they were talking, but something about the planet that they're on has regenerative powers or something. So the way I heard it was they went there to try and save him, or something like that.
DTG, if you remember, they needed a positronic environment to grow the cure.
Yes,
I did.
That's
not
what I meant.
On Star Trek Picard. I have to say, I did not. There we go. Okay. Positronic technology. Yay! This is why we have people here to help us.
Thank you.
It's impossible to remember all of it. Yeah, and at the very least, it just looked
anti-aging.
Like a nice little cabin in the wood.
Yes,
I love it.
Not a creepy cabin in the woods, but a nice one.
Yeah, it was a disease that required some synthetic cure that they were not able to get because of the synthetic ban post Children of Mars ban on synthetics.
Right.
So, yeah, I was about to say post Mars attack, but then that distracts me into thinking about other science fiction. So, but I thought that was really brilliant. That's now when we started to introduce the Vision. So they've like split ways. Picard and Soji are on Nepenthe, and then the rest of the crew is off doing something else. And Jurati, they talk about that Vision, and then they see that she has a tracking device in her, which is how... Right, and so she gets put into a coma
because she tries to get it out of her, I think.
Right.
Right.
Not super clear on that. But
no,
there was a tracking device. But that was the introduction of this Vision and the Council of Eight.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, in Insurrection. Forgot about that. Another one that you need to watch. But yeah, overall though, Nepenthe was just pure Troy Riker fan service that I'm 100% here for. And their kid Kestra was awesome too.
She was awesome, but was it just me, or did she like have a face that looked like she was 40 years old, like in a good way? Like she, I was like, how old is this child? I don't understand.
It was a little ambiguous as to how old she was, but I think for me though, she was supposed to be like pretty young, because if they had gone there with their first kid that wasn't able to get a cure because of the synthetic ban, then that was only after the the Council of Eight was the stars themselves. The 8 planet system
that they created, like by pulling planets together somehow.
So let's talk about the planet system, and then we'll talk about O's forced mind meld. So, the planet system, how, first of all, it would never it would be incredibly rare to be naturally occurring. You can have star clusters, and you can have those stars be very, very far apart from each other, but the way that they were able to loop them around, that's hard to do. And to drag planets there, and that would be like a decaying system that would only last like a few 100,000, but it's been there for like 200,000 years or something. So I like this idea that they could create this planetary system as like some sort of beacon that is this weird artificial planetary system, but it's so gravitationally unstable. It's never, even for 200,000 years, it would not last. It would things would be flung out and it would decay really fast. So
not sound.
those are my thoughts on that. Now about the mind meld. So Commodore O was half Romulan and half Vulcan?
That's what I thought, yeah.
Because she can Vulcan mind meld.
Apparently.
And the Vulcans and the Romulans have a common ancestor, as Star Trek the original series taught us. So that is not uncommon. But the forced mind melding and the ability for synthetics to mind meld and all of that was weird.
How do we know the synthetics can mind meld?
Didn't
yeah, that's right.
At the end, was it Sutra? Yeah, Mir Soji. Sutra. Ridiculous name. I'm like, let's see how much more subtle we can get with this name. But her name is Sutra. And she mind melds with
Soji, right?
No, with Girardi, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Then but this was the hard thing, right? Because they sort of imply that they're part biological.
Mm-hmm.
But then the vision that... so I'm trying to sort this out in my mind. So jump in, correct me if I'm wrong. The Romulans saw this vision that made them think that synthetic life needed to be destroyed, right? That they had to eliminate synthetic life. The synthetics, saw this vision, and they interpreted it that if they summon something, so they can call this thing that will kill all the organic lives, which is why the organics, the Romulans, think that they need to kill the synthetics so they don't summon this beacon.
Yeah,
right.
That's kind of what I got. It was kind of confusing. It was this vicious circle thing. Like if we kill them, then they won't do this to kill us. But and
totally agree with you on the consensual mind melds. Completely agree with you because I'm trying to think, did they have one in Voyager that was non-consensual, or they had to like force a mind meld on someone?
I think it was like a strongly suggested type of thing. But yeah, when she forced the mind meld on her, I was like, even I know that. Like even I know that's not cool.
Right. And it is supposed to be that you have to give yourself over. Without getting too into it, because this is supposed to be a chill, happy brunch discussion. The way copulation, the way sex was presented in this show was a little bit troubling. that it just across the board, it was, Girardi hooking up with Rios was not super clear. There was there was a lot of issues I felt with the way that they presented the sexual relationships on this show. But aside from all of that, carrying on over to the mind melds as well. And so a couple people like DTG and Zach mentioned it's Mass Effect. it's the Reapers, and everyone who has played Mass Effect and also watched Picard has pointed this out because it is so 100% exactly Mass Effect. There is a beacon that indicates that there will be some ancient race that comes to destroy organics because they have reached a level of technology with synthetics. And even when they open that portal and the mechanical arm things are coming through, it just looked like the Reapers from Mass Effect. But
that's hilarious. But I mean, because I don't know Mass Effect at all, but like clearly there's so many people that are recognizing this. You just wonder how there was not one person who was like, guys, we need to adjust this storyline a little bit.
Which, in general, like, I do think that the premise from science fiction where artificial intelligence and synthetic life reaches a point that it becomes dangerous and needs to be eliminated is...
Yeah, I mean, it's a trope.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Possibly. We shall find out. But yeah, it's 100% a trope. It's just not a trope that Star Trek has really gone down, though, you know?
Not really, but like what I was saying last time, one thing that's so interesting to me about Picard and then what I've watched of Enterprise is
it is Blade Runner, yeah.
I haven't seen Blade Runner.
That's okay. Ooh, it's a good time.
I know.
But anyway,
I totally missed that one.
Carry on.
As it's not really Picard's story. It's Data's story. Like Enterprise there's so many episodes about Data trying to discover who he is and just wrestling with being an android and trying to be human. And he's such a singular android because somehow he worked and the rest of them didn't. And then Picard is all about it's about Picard's relationship with Data. Right. And it's about Data's family and all the people that the what's his name invented or that he created on this synthetic planet. And yeah, I mean, the story is, I felt more about Data than Picard.
Yeah. And I think that's fair. And I think that's this kind of story arc that they wanted to tell. That's okay. You can just trust us. And I'm also replaying all of Mass Effect right now because I got the bug after watching Picard. I was like, I really want to go back and play Mass Effect. So yeah, it's but it is Data's story, and that's where I thought, like, with Cause and Effect, when we watched that recently. Which, did you watch that? That's the one with Mark Twain in it.
What season is it?
That's what I don't remember. It might be. I thought it's either the end of season 4 or the end of season 5. So either you have definitely seen it or you definitely have not seen it. But
I honestly can't remember. I don't think so.
It's where they find Data's head in the past. They go to. Was that Time Zero? Oh, there was one where Time Zero. Sorry, no, that's Time Zero. Cause and Effect was the other one we watched. Time Zero is the one where they find Data's head.
Okay.
Mark Twain, Guinan in the head. That's the episode. So if you don't remember it, all it is like they basically get called back to Earth because they found Data's head in amongst artifacts that were from the 1800s, and so they're like, well, that's weird, and without spoiling it for you, because you can watch it and then we'll discuss it at some future Sunday time. There is a really good discussion in it about Data's mortality. That Data, they find his head and Data's like, cool beans, let's go investigate. And everyone's
you froze. I don't know if I'm frozen.
Oh, you're frozen, yeah. But I can still hear you. But with Data, he was thinking that if you need to drop out, you can join back in. I think if people can still hear me, let me know. But with Data, he was able to find and be in touch with his own mortality. And so that was sort of like this comforting thing. Thank you. That was this comforting thing for him, that he knew he was going to die. So let me just message her and let her know that we're still good. Yep, there we go. So anyway, that was an interesting part of the conversation with Data that I had kind of forgot about. Other than it being a great episode, but the fact that he wanted mortality and was comforted by the fact that he would die and then come back. And yeah, It was interesting. So we've had some people here comment about the parallels with other science fiction things, some issues with consent and mind melds and synthetics, and that was kind of the weird thing. It made me think that the synthetics had to die, but if they were part organic as well as part synthetic, then that wasn't super clear. So that was kind of part of my thing that I struggled with. Then in terms of the finale, they go to these space orchids, and they go to this planet that has space orchids, and if it is some sort of space thing that can live in space and isn't literally an orchid, then I'm kind of down for that. But it wasn't quite clear exactly. All right, she's back. Hooray! It wasn't quite clear how they actually worked. Welcome back.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I was just starting to talk about space orchids. So purely synthetic. You read the prequel book. Okay, so the fact that they are synthetic orchids that go up and grab them and bring them down. Why those advanced synthetic races created a warning that was likely to be seen by organic races first. That's a good point.
Wondering why those advanced?
Yeah. I mean, valid. There were a few things that we kind of were just like, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the bio gel, bioorganic gel, bio-neural circuitry. That's it. We remember those, the bio gel packs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What was funny for me was with the space orchids is that they came up and then they grabbed them and then they sort of carry them down. The Borg ship seemed weirdly fine for crashing to the surface. I was definitely expecting like a massive crater, but it seems that they are brought down and they land.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of. Yeah. So just kind of talking about the finale here with the how it all wrapped up.
Mm.
Yeah, what were your thoughts?
On the finale, I'm actually trying to rack my brain on what the finale entails.
So they're on that planet basically with all the synths.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then he's in the prison and kills one of them and escapes. And then does the whole like, I'm going to try and help you guys thing.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't remember what happens to it.
Doesn't he end up on the ship with them at the end? I think he
does. Yeah.
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 And then the
but he didn't.
Yeah. Then for me the issue he didn't. Okay.
Oh. Whoops.
Did he just end up they didn't kill him.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, all right. None of us did. Suture got him out. I don't remember.
Right.
For me, the funny thing was that they get to the planet and they're like, we have to escape. Like, the Romulans are coming. And then everyone was like super chill and Girardi was like playing with a cat. And like, they were like, we have to make all these orchids. And yeah, the Borg cube you would think would do that. Hard agree, Zach. I was hoping for an epic space battle.
Yeah, I was sort of expecting that would happen. Yeah. It did not.
It did not.
That's why I'm like not remembering the finale very well.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what actually happened? How did it end?
Yeah, we got Riker, Captain Riker, which was honestly that of the entire series. I'm such a fangirl and such like I eat up fan service like nobody's business, and to see Riker on the bridge like that, tears.
It was awesome.
I
was very happy.
It's just full chills. Agreed. It was way too short to see him in that role. Yeah. It was brilliant. Yeah, an epic space battle. you know, like some of the other ones, iconic ones that we've seen in the past.
So awesome. I just remembered what happened in the finale is Picard dies and then he doesn't.
I did have a problem with that. That took me out. That kind of left a not super positive. I've heard lots of great conversation on either side, so like don't get me wrong about it, but that was sort of like I had this huge high from Riker, and then this beautiful scene where it was like Picard was dying, and then Data and him are like having this conversation about like what it means to be human and mortality, and how and not everyone agrees with this. I was on a panel earlier this week where we kind of went back and forth about like what it meant to be human, but I thought, and like in Time's Arrow, that's what Data was saying, right? That he was, that knowing that you're gonna die is part of being human and understanding your mortality, and that was so important. And then Picard, and then Data dying, and I feel like that was the arc, that was like the satisfying arc to it. But then having Picard die and then be brought back, but brought back and told that, you know, well, you're not immortal because we've made sure that you're gonna die when you normally would, but you could be immortal, but you're not, but you could be. and the cards you were dealt don't really matter because we erased half of them and played the cards that we wanted to be dealt. That for me kind of contradicted the emotional moment right there. And
I agree. It was almost like, hey, we need a season 2, so let's bring back the person the show was named for. It was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
I was fully expecting him to die, and then the ship would be renamed Picard.
Right, you said, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but he's back. He's back as for as many seasons, I guess, as they have.
Yeah.
So this was a topic of big conversation, as people are trying to think, like, did he die? Did he not die? What is his vision now? Is he a Borg? Like, not a Borg. Is he like a I forget what they were calling him, but you know, this isn't new for Star Trek. We've had characters come back, not in their bodies, but with their consciousness, and we just accept them for what they are. So that is what it is. And I agree with Captain Riker wanting to have all of that stuff. Yeah, the Golem Picard, that was it.
Oh yeah.
So how the beacon works, the question is, did it open the portal or did the super synths? If the beacon was activated, what I thought was that they activated the beacon, which kind of summoned the Reapers. This ancient race that is going to wipe them out. That was kind of what I thought.
But they turned it off, right?
Then they turned it
off.
But
we don't know if it was open long enough for something to come through.
I mean, there was something like crawling through.
Oh yeah.
Right? But then it shut.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anyway.
Season 2.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know if they're tying a bow on it. They've kind of tied a bow on the story.
They did.
And maybe she did hit it very hard. And then maybe it'll carry on to either be, you know, they have this crew, they have this ship, they have characters that we know, and they now are going off as was mentioned.
I mean, honestly, if they could just go off with 7 and be vigilantes forever, I'd watch that.
Yeah, that's fair. So if the beacon opened the portal itself, that's possible. And it did kind of look like that. It kind of looked like it was, this energy was opening this hole. But it wasn't super clear. And then if the super synths live in another dimension, that's hard too. Because I'm so... What do you think, Samantha? Before I answer.
Well, let me just... I don't know.
If it's in another dimension or if it's in another part of the universe.
These things that were supposed to come in and kill the organics?
Yeah.
I mean, dimension seems to make the most sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, the alternative would be like they're coming from a different place in time, or
another point. So I'm reading it with my Mass Effect brain, which is that this is an ancient race from somewhere else outside of the galaxy that comes through a wormhole. So I basically saw it as a wormhole to another point in space and or time that they come through, but it's still our universe. They're just coming through a different portal, through a wormhole into this location. It is, I think it's an interesting point, Mikhail, about the sickness in Star Trek Future, and I think they tried to touch on that, right? That there are still diseases that can't be eradicated, and there are still ways that people are able to die without not just being of natural causes. But they do have technology to be able to do that. So I think they tried to touch on this, but they didn't necessarily get into it too much. The Borg Queen, so that's fair. Why not make mass relays? If they made a mass relay type thing, I think people would have to step in on that. That would be funny. Descent free space. Oh yeah. Could be there in a parallel dimension. It could be there in a parallel dimension. It could be like a mirror universe type thing, but
that'd be cool.
Anyway, we've been hanging out for an hour, so we can start to kind of wrap things up. But any final thoughts-ish? On that?
Final thoughts on Picard, or on... I don't know. I mean, I would be curious to see where they're going to take it, I guess. This first season felt a little bit disjointed in a lot of ways. But I think, coming at it from somebody who doesn't know Star Trek universe like inside and out yet, and just starting to get to know all of the things.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. Then it was a fun series to watch from that perspective, just story wise. Like, if you're not super invested in Star Trek yet as a super fan, or like, it's a good introduction to characters and some of the histories and stuff that they bring in, but it was a little bit hard to follow just plot wise. There were some certain things that was like, what that's kind of how I felt too, that I was at the end of some of the episodes, I was left kind of being like, I don't think I'm a dumb person, and I'm not sure what's going on, I'm gonna stay with this, but I couldn't tell you what this is about right now, so that it didn't feel as tight as storytelling in terms of arcs. And I mean, did that a couple times. It did, and I felt that there were certain things there that were in it that were like, we just wanted to make a show to bring Captain Stewart, or bring Patrick Stewart back. Yeah, like, how do we force the story here? Like, that's kind of how it felt a lot. And then with Seven coming back, we touched on this last time. It was like, to me, her role literally felt like all they wanted to do was be able to show her in the teaser trailers so that people would watch. Right. Like, she didn't do a lot, which was disappointing. Yeah. So, I mean, but again, like...
Yeah, I was happy. I was happy with Seven, but I would have liked to have more. And I am still angry about the Voyager thing. I will get over it. ZT mentioned Hugh, as well as Vancellar.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't really talk about Hugh, but we talked about him last week, which is on our YouTube. But he
was great.
He was great. Him and Seven, I felt, were like two highlights in terms of like the acting and the characters. And it might just be because it was the fan service to have them back, but it was really sad to see him killed, I think.
It was, yeah.
The DTG asked about the Romulans. I felt that we knew about the Romulans because Jurati remembered she had that beacon in her and that they were following. That's what I thought. I can't remember. And yeah, Trekker, I think no, I'm glad you liked the season, and I think a lot of people did. And don't get me wrong, like it did have some highlights for me, and I do feel overall, kind of plot aside, at the end of the season when they are taken off in the ship together, I was kind of like, all right, now I know the characters. I'm like, I want to just have them do space adventures together now.
Yeah, totally.
I'm down with that. So.
Yeah, I would be on board.
But yeah. So thanks for hanging out, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad we were able to do this live.
We did. We got it to work.
We did. And we'll post this on the YouTube channels that we have. And we'll come back next week and we should just pick up where we left off for you with we were in season 5 of Next Gen. If people want to talk about that. We'll probably we used to do like full, but we did every other week, but we did like full seasons or half seasons.
Well,
we'll probably just do a handful of episodes. And just chronologically go through and thank you. I'm glad you all were here.
Thank you. Yeah.
Caught you for a second.
LLAP.
Live long and prosper.
Oh, of course.
Yep. That's all right. Welcome to the party. Oh, awesome. Cool. Good to see you again. Sweet. So thanks again. Hang out here. Feel free to hit follow here on Twitch, and you can see when we're going to be on. We'll be on every Sunday at this time. Try to shoot for around an hour.
Yeah.
We also have all my social links below where you can find me on Twitter and come bug me and ask me questions. This is never actually bugging me. It's just fun. And then my website, and then I will be back on... I'll be back tomorrow morning just on my Mass Effect Mondays playing through Mass Effect again. So if any of you wanted to catch up, we're only a few hours into the gameplay, so you can catch up on Mass Effect 1. And then on Tuesday, we're going to be discussing in the episode club 2 Expanse episodes. We're going to talk about Paradigm Shift and IFF. So it's the one where we get introduced to the Epstein drive, and the one where they leave the toolbox unlocked when they're in their ship. So it's going to be really fun. But anyway, thank you, Samantha. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Erin.
Yes.
Bye.
Have fun. Have a good rest of your holiday week and everything.
Yep.
Live long
you
and
too.
prosper.
Yep.
All right. Bye, everyone.